I gave my last meal to an alien woman. Her soldiers dropped to their knees. Beginning. The desert of Yara. 9 was not a place meant for human survival. Its skies swirled with violet storms, and its ground shimmered with glassy dust that sliced into boots and lungs alike. When the supply convoy was ambushed 3 days ago, I was the only one who stumbled away alive, clutching a half-scorched ration pack. My name is Kai Mercer, and at that point, survival wasn't a matter of willpower. It was mathematics. 1 meal left. Maybe 3 days of life, if I rationed water carefully. I found shelter in the husk of a crashed atmospheric skimmer. Its hull was torn open, bones of metal exposed to the violet sky. I sat there on the 3rd day, staring at the ration pack, like it was both salvation and damnation. A human meal bar, dried protein paste, and a few sips of electrolyte solution. Enough to quiet the screaming in my stomach, but not enough to give me hope. That's when I heard her. A groan, soft but pained, carried by the storm. My first instinct was to dismiss it. Hallucinations were common on Yara 9. But then it came again, more desperate. Against reason, I left the safety of the skimmer's shadow and trudged toward the sound. Half buried in violet dust was a figure. Humanoid but not human. Her skin shimmered faintly under the storm's light, a pale silver with streaks of turquoise running across her arms like veins glowing from within. Her hair, if it could be called that, was a cascade of crystalline filaments, tangled and cracked. She was clearly injured, her breathing shallow, her lips cracked. An alien woman. Her eyes flickered open, revealing irises of molten gold. They locked onto me with a strange mix of fear and defiance. She tried to speak, but only a dry rasp came out. I looked at my ration pack. My last meal. My last guarantee of survival. I should have walked away. Every survival instinct screamed at me to do so. But her gaze, there was something in it. Something that wasn't just survival. A plea. A dignity that refused to bow, even in weakness. Without fully understanding why, I crouched beside her and tore open the ration pack. Here, I said hoarsely, pressing the nutrient bar into her hand. Eat. She hesitated, staring at me as if unsure whether this was a trick. Then, with trembling fingers, she took it. She ate slowly, almost reverently, as though every bite mattered more than I could imagine. When she finished, her strength seemed to flicker back, just enough for her to whisper in a voice like wind through crystal. You gave your last to me? I nodded. Yeah, guess I'm stupid like that. Her golden eyes shimmered, not with tears, but with something heavier like recognition. She whispered something in a language I didn't know, then closed her eyes again. That was when the sky tore open. Middle. From the storm emerged shadows, 5, 10, then 20 figures descending in disciplined formation. Soldiers, armored in black and silver, carrying weapons that pulsed with energy I couldn't name. They were not human, and yet they moved with unmistakable purpose. Their helmets retracted as they neared, revealing the same silver turquoise skin and golden eyes as the woman at my side. Panic clawed at me. I was a stranded human with no weapon, no supplies, kneeling beside one of their kind. They would kill me without hesitation. The lead soldier raised his weapon, aiming directly at my chest. I froze, heart hammering. Then the alien woman stirred. With visible effort, she lifted a hand. Her crystalline hair glowed faintly, and her voice, though weak, rang with authority. Stand down. Instantly, every soldier dropped to one knee. The one who had aimed at me lowered his weapon so fast it clattered against the glassy ground. Their heads bowed, not to me, but to her. I stared, dumbstruck. The woman struggled to sit up. One of the kneeling soldiers hurried to support her, but she waved him off and instead pointed at me. This human, she declared, her voice gaining strength with every word, has shown honor where others would have abandoned me. He gave his last sustenance that I might endure. His life is now bound to ours. The soldiers glanced at one another, their golden eyes wide with shock. Then, as if choreographed, they pressed their fists to their chests and bowed deeper. I gawked. What is happening? The woman turned to me. For the first time, there was a faint curve of a smile on her lips. My name is Serenia, she said, High Daughter of the Astral Dominion. The words meant little to me then, but the reverence in her soldier's posture told me enough. She wasn't just important. She was royalty. And I had just fed an alien princess my last meal. They carried us both onto a transport ship hidden beneath the sands. Inside, the air was cool and laced with metallic tang. The soldiers treated Serenia with the kind of reverence I'd only seen in ancient holofilms about monarchs. And me? They regarded me with wary respect, like a dangerous unknown. Serena insisted I sit beside her on the command dais. I tried to protest. I was just a stranded human, nothing more, but she silenced me with a glance. As the ship lifted through Yar 9's turbulent skies, I finally asked, "Why did your soldiers kneel?" She studied me, as if measuring how much truth to reveal. "Among my people, there exists an ancient vow. It is said that your sovereign be saved in her moment of true need by an outsider. The entire Dominion is honor-bound to recognize that savior. You gave your last sustenance to me, when you had nothing left for yourself. In doing so, you invoked a vow." My head spun. "So, what? I'm some kind of honor guest now." Her golden eyes softened. "More than that, you are bound to me, and by extension to all who serve me." I swallowed hard. "That sounds heavy." "It is," she said simply. The following days blurred into strange revelations. I learned that the astral dominion was not a single world, but a vast coalition of star systems, united under Serena's dynasty. Yara 9 had been contested territory, ravaged by a rebellion that sought to overthrow her family's rule. Her skimmer had been shot down during an escape from an ambush, leaving her stranded. Until I found her, her soldiers treated me with rigid formality, but also with a strange awe. Wherever I walked, they inclined their heads. When meals were served, mine came first. When Serena addressed me, she used words like protector and bonded one. It was surreal. Only a week ago, I'd been another nameless scavenger on the outer trade routes. Now, I was tethered to alien royalty by a single act of kindness. But honor was not without its cost. The rebellion did not rest. Our transport came under attack as we neared the Dominion's core systems. Sleek enemy craft struck like vipers, and I watched in horror as our soldiers fought desperately to defend Serena. In the chaos, I was shoved into an emergency chamber with her, sealed away from the battle. For the first time, Serena looked uncertain, not as a princess, not as a commander, but as someone cornered. "They will come for me," she said quietly. "If they take me, the Dominion fractures. War will consume countless worlds." I had no weapon, no training, nothing but my own 2 hands. But something in me refused to let her face it alone. "When I gave you my meal," I told her, "it wasn't for vows or honor. It was because you were dying, and I couldn't stand by." That hasn't changed. Her golden eyes locked onto mine, steady and fierce. Then we stand together. The chamber doors buckled under enemy fire. Soldiers poured in, armored in crimson, weapons raised. For a heartbeat, I thought it was over. But Serena rose, crystalline hair blazing with inner light, and her voice cut like thunder. "You dare trespass before the High Daughter, bound to protect her the vow." The rebels froze. Their leader's eyes flicked to me, and his face paled. Then, unbelievably, he and his fighters dropped to their knees, just as her loyal soldiers had. I blinked in shock. Serena leaned close, whispering so only I could hear. "They kneel, not to me, but to what you represent. The vow binds not just loyalty, but truth. They cannot raise arms against you without breaking their own code." In that moment, the rebellion fractured. Some rebels fled, unwilling to face the curse of breaking their vow. Others surrendered outright. And those who resisted were swiftly overwhelmed by Serena's forces once the tide turned. I hadn't fought, hadn't fired a shot, but somehow I had changed the course of an entire war. Ending. Weeks later, I stood beside Serena on the steps of the Dominion's Grand Citadel. Vast towers stretched into skies alive with silver auroras. Crowds of her people gathered, their voices rising in a unified chant. She raised a hand, silencing them, and spoke. This human, Kai Mercer, gave what none else could, selfless compassion in my darkest hour. By the vow of our ancestors, he is not merely a guest, but kin to the Dominion. His life is bound to ours, and ours to his. The crowd erupted, thousands dropping to one knee, their fists pressed to their chests. I looked at Serena, bewildered. I never asked for this. Her golden eyes met mine, calm and resolute. That is why you were worthy of it. In the days that followed, I wrestled with what this meant. I was no longer a nameless scavenger. I was a symbol, a living reminder of a vow older than empires. Wherever I went, soldiers and civilians alike treated me with reverence. But beneath all the titles and ceremony, I remember the simple truth. It had started with a choice, a single meal, a refusal to let someone die alone in the dust. And perhaps that was the greatest power of all, not weapons, not armies, but compassion, the kind that could turn strangers into kin, rebels into allies, and an ordinary human into protector of an empire. As I stood beside Serena, watching the aurora sweep across the skies of her homeworld, I realized something. Survival had once been mathematics, but now it was legacy. And it all began because I gave my last meal to an alien woman, and her soldiers dropped to their knees.